Welcome, everyone, to Amateur Hour. It is February 20th. I'm Leo Saylor, joined by Ryan Poley, Safwan Avi, and Ryan Karangle. How are we today, guys?
I'm all right.
Doing pretty well.
Day by day.
Hottest day ever.
It is the hottest day ever. Good point. Hottest day ever recorded in February in Cincinnati.
In
Thank
Cincinnati!
God! It was just the hottest day ever.
All right, in case that needed any clarity, we were talking about it earlier, and one of us, I forget who, said it's the hottest day ever in February, right? And then we were like, no way. And then you clarified and said Cincinnati. And then we said, you know what, that makes sense. That was a little bit of an inside scoop as to how our brains work here at MountCast. Very sophisticated. Hope you could follow along. If not, that's okay. We don't expect you to. We're pretty great.
Very fast-paced.
Just run it back. Just run it back.
Run it right back.
The first
Hit that backwards 10 seconds.
Meanwhile, in San Diego, it was 56 degrees. So we're better than the entire state of California right now.
Suck it, San Diego.
Yeah. Or some Ron Burgundy. You stay classy, San Diego.
That's right.
All right, what's first? Let's talk about Eric Hosmer and his death sentence of a contract. 8 years. I've never seen anybody besides like Joey Votto sign for that much.
Yeah.
Again, suck it, San Diego.
Eric Hosmer was 8 years. I think there was a buyout clause after 5, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but he's not leaving because he's trying to start a franchise. And Will Myers is not happy about this.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to say, oh, Will Myers, you can play the outfield, which I totally get. He came up as an outfielder, right? The problem with this is by them putting him at first base originally over the past few seasons, they said, you know what, you're our franchise cornerstone. We want to reduce the wear and tear on you by putting you at first. Now they bring in another guy who, although he might not be the Will Myers franchise cornerstone, he's going to take that spot, that positional spot. Therefore, he's going to have to go to the outfield where he might have more wear and tear on him. His career might not last as long.
But we all know that if you play right field, you're the worst player on the team.
Correct, without a doubt.
So he went from the best to the worst within a year. This is big news.
Yeah, it's true.
Those of you not familiar with Will Myers, he was the Tampa Bay Rays big prospect coming up a few years ago. Then he was eventually traded to the Padres.
Well, I tell you what, there's another Hosmer. There's a Hosmer Myers connection. He was a big Royals prospect, and he was traded to the Rays for, I don't recall. Let me look this up. But he was the number one prospect in baseball when he was traded.
Yeah, Will Myers was the next big thing. He was always batting with no batting gloves. That's always been his signature. Also, another big deal in the MLB, J.D. Martinez just signed a big contract with the Red Sox, 5 years, $110 million.
That's a chunk of change right there. That's a pretty penny if you ask me.
He will more than likely be taking over the DH spot, I believe.
Well, yeah, that's a lot to pay for a DH. Replacing Big Papi is no small role to fill.
He's coming off his best year, hitting over 345 home runs and over 100 RBIs, and only 112 games. So he was the most efficient home run hitter.
The second half of the year, he had, 30 home runs by himself?
Yeah, he was the most efficient home run hitter last year, and that paid off for him because he got a fat contract.
Big fat contract.
And what's really impressive is although he hits all these bombs, comparably so to those guys who hit similar amounts of home runs, his strikeout numbers are low.
At Joey Votto.
And his average is high. Usually you see these guys hitting 45 home runs, but their batting average is about 250.
At Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, combined, I'm thinking 115 home runs between Judge and Giancarlo Stanton.
People were lining up there just to watch their batting practice. The batting practice was almost sold out yesterday just to watch them hit.
It's amazing. You can swing a piece of wood
incredible.
at a small leather ball, and you can make $110 million and hit that many home runs.
It's absolutely incredible.
The salary cap.
No salary cap.
And it's important to make a point that although personally I'm a big hockey fan, I think the salary cap makes the world better, makes small market teams be able to compete with Chicago's and smaller market teams. That you'll never see that in baseball. The Players Union will never let that happen.
The Chicagos, the New Yorks, the Bostons, they'll always be good.
The Yankees are going to be going back to the Yankees again, it looks like.
Yeah. But being just the bad guys.
I tell you what, though, let's think about the Padres for a second. So we talked about Will Myers, who I looked at that trade. It was James Shields and Wade Davis that went to Kansas City. So Wade Davis, big deal. James Shields just kind of went on a steady decline / cliff-like fall after that trade. So that was a bad one all around. But looking at the Padres, they got Chase Headley back. Mm-hmm. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a great thing for them.
He played really well with the Padres, and then he went to the Yankees and kind of was just an average player.
On that team, he's going to be an average player, but now he's going to be like the center of their lineup.
He's a switch hitter.
He was an all-star with San Diego, yeah.
I mean, the heart of their lineup is looking good, especially from the standpoint of we're seeing these days a lot of these lefty specialists, hard-throwing righties coming out of the pen to get those specific handednesses out. And you look at it, and they got Hosmer hitting from the left side, Myers hitting from the right side, and Chase Headley's the switch hitter. So their heart of the lineup is very versatile and diverse as far as handedness. And that leaves other managers with a big question mark when they come out of the pen late in the game.
What I noticed, what you said about James Shields, it reminded me, his nickname was always Big Game James Shields, but I never knew why, because every single big game he played, and he was terrible. I don't know why. I think they kind of just gave him that nickname just to give him the nickname, because every big game I saw him play, he wasn't Big Game James Shields at all. He was the complete opposite. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Maybe it's one of those like self-proclaimed nicknames, like Chris Berman gave himself Boomer. Like, where'd that come from?
Well, he deserves it. He was an icon in any type of sports environment.
The boss.
Everybody knows who Chris Berman is. You know, James Shields, he's calling himself Big Game James Shields, having like a 5 ERA in big games.
Look at that old Rays staff for a while. James Shields back in his heyday.
David Price.
David Price back in his heyday. Not that he's not
Boston.
anymore,
Yeah.
but he was certainly more
He's
excited.
just injury plagued
strong 2, pretty strong 3.
Matt Garza. Remember Matt Garza
Yeah,
used to be
dude,
good?
he threw fire. Scott Kazmir.
Scott Kazmir.
That was back in the Evan Longoria prime.
That was about
Alex
8-9 years
Cobb.
ago.
Yeah.
Alex Cobb, I believe, is the most underrated pitcher in baseball.
Alex Cobb
That
is
12-6 is Kershaw good.
When you play with him on the show and you think he's just hot stuff.
You know what? I haven't played the show since 16, and yes, he was my number 1 starter in Diamond Dynasty. So thank you.
I want to know why.
Yeah, the Rays always, back in those times, had a really good team. They built around Evan Longoria. You know, they had a lot of good guys to build around that.
Where did he go? What happened to him?
He was
got
at the
moved.
Giants now, if I'm
Yeah,
not
the
mistaken. He
Giants,
plays with the
yeah.
Giants.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that team has been dismantled. They never got over the hump, even though they had the team to do it. Also, moving on to another sport, the NBA All-Star Game.
Oh,
All-Star
Fergalicious.
Oh,
Break
yes.
it down.
Yeah, the
So
NBA All-Star
good.
Game, to many people, was a huge success, at least compared to what we've been seeing in years past. Team LeBron defeated Steph Curry. Team
LeBron
Steph
with
Curry,
another MVP.
148-145. LeBron took home MVP honors, 29 points,
There was a lot more defense
10
than I
rebounds, and 9
expected.
assists. Yeah, there's a little bit more defense. It wasn't too much. I mean,
Right.
148-145, but
It was competitive in like the first quarter and the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Everything in between was just let the bench guys get their padded stats and look good in front of cameras, and then like let LeBron James go to work.
yeah, it was better because it wasn't 200-195.
Dude,
So
watching those games, it was just like an alley-oop contest. Like nobody even wanted to get in the way of anybody
Yeah.
or get hurt or whatever. But now it's just
especially at the end of the game, for whoever was watching, there was a lot of defense being played. Joel Embiid,
it was a
Russell
close
Westbrook.
game. Yeah,
There
Russell
was
Westbrook and
hard
Joel Embiid hate each other. I think with a
competitiveness,
passion.
guys running up and down the court like it was a playoff game, and it was really
was fun to
refreshing to see.
Yeah.
You know, and these are the best players in the world, so everything they do is precise, and they're the best at their craft, and it was really amazing to see. An overall All-Star weekend, I believe, was a success, headlined by a great All-Star game. It's what NBA really needed that.
Really did. Imagine if a $1 billion player like LeBron goes down in that game, just by competing too hard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that would be there would be some problems with that. I think pretty immediately you'd see conversations of, do we even want the All-Star game?
Right.
I think it would go straight to riots. I think fans would be upset.
Cleveland would
owners
just shut
get
down.
upset. Yeah, coaches.
Browns
would be
already
upset.
suck.
The Indians would move.
Take him to Cincinnati, man. We suck too.
Yeah, I can't. I honestly think if you took all the talent from the Cleveland Indians roster and you added it to the Cincinnati Reds roster, I
still
think the
be
Reds
bad.
are still 100 loss team.
They aren't that bad, man.
They were 90 last year, and it's going to be close to that this year. Even though Joey Votto's trying to, I'm tired of losing, man. Let's get everybody together. Let's get pumped up. Let's get some signings.
He's got his money, man.
right.
He
doesn't
it.
care.
Yeah.
Kozart left, and they're just going to be a bunch of bums again.
You guys want to run through the Reds' outlook a little bit this season? You want to do that now or no?
What, go through the
They have a
future?
top-notch farm system.
It's not the Cubs, but they're pretty good.
You got Votto at first.
Oh, let's
obviously,
throw.
right? Starting
Yeah.
at college toads. And then I think you can get...
Did we get
obviously-
Scooter back?
Yeah, Scooter's back. He's playing at second. I think you can platoon him depending on lefty-righty matchups with either Peraza or Suarez, because one of them is going to have to move over. One of them is going to be your starting shortstop, because Senzel is going to be your third baseman.
I like Eugenio at third.
I do
Eugenio Suarez.
I mean, I agree, but Nick Senzel, I mean...
Yeah, he's an up-and-comer.
In spring training, he's going to be playing both shortstop and third base.
Is he really?
So they are.
So depending on
experimenting
which
with him.
I don't get that. He's the franchise cornerstone. Let him stay at home. Let him stay third base.
I mean, I think depending on whichever position player is the hottest in the lineup, they're going to leave him there and then put Senzel at the other one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kind of make your mark kind of thing.
Yeah, the Reds now have their two cornerstone guys. They just drafted one in Hunter Green.
Oh, yes.
You know, creates the cover of Sports Illustrated, next big thing. And usually that works out for athletes. The last two athletes I remember on Sports Illustrated, Bryce Harper and LeBron James.
At LeBron James.
And from what I see, those two worked out pretty well.
I mean,
So
the only team LeBron James ever lost to in high school Roger Bacon, go Cincy.
Yeah.
Wrap it up.
So hopefully the Reds have a really bright outlook. Guys like Jesse Winker, Jose Peraza really need to prove themselves. Amir Garrett, Robert Stevenson, these guys. It is crucial for these guys to develop because if not, the Reds will go back into tanking mode if these guys don't develop.
Will Amir Garrett ever actually come back from getting sent down, though? He had a pretty strong start to the season and just fell apart.
I think he will. I think his biggest thing was his go-to pitches, put-away pitch, was slider in the dirt, finish those guys off in the minors, and he had great success with that. And he started the year having success with that in the bigs. And the bigs, they'll get that book clear as day. They get down 1-2 count. That's what they're looking for. As soon as they see it, they're not hacking.
What makes a good hitter in the major leagues is making adjustments late in the at-bat. Yeah, so when they see that, when they look at the tapes from when he's pitching, all they got to do is make an adjustment, make a mental note. He throws sliders in the dirt. What do? They take the pitch.
So what's he got to do?
He's got to start throwing better off-speed pitches or more fastballs high, set-up pitches.
He's got to have better control of his pitches.
Yeah.
He's got to make those adjustments of his own, right?
Yeah.
So.
It is crucial, for the Reds to get these guys that have been in the majors for a few years, the Robert Stevensons, the Cody Reeds, the Amir Garrett, who's been up and down the past couple of years. These guys need to take the next step for the Reds to start going in the right direction.
That's what Joey Votto wants, obviously.
So, and if they don't, then the Reds will be stale for the next handful of years if these guys don't develop.
Yeah, it's better to suck than be stuck in mediocrity, in my personal opinion.
We should get rid of Mesoraco.
Oh, I agree. He had a good half a season one time. They named him an all-star.
He just can never stop getting hurt. He's like the Tyler Eifert of the Reds.
He's made of glass.
He's talented when he plays, but he never plays.
He shouldn't play. I'm sorry. Tucker
Barnhart is a Gold Glover. He should play every game.
He hit 270. What did he hit? 10, 15 homers?
Yeah, that's good enough for a catcher.
That's more than good enough for me. By the time Mesoraco's contract expires, you let him walk, and then you got, what's his name? They got Rule 5 last year, and he stayed with the team all year.
Yeah.
Turner Stevenson?
Yeah.
Stevenson Turner, whatever.
And the Reds have another top 5 pick this year because of last year, so they're going to get another big-time stud in the farm system this year.
And another one of their biggest prospects, I forget his name. He's Stevenson. I'm thinking the other guys. I got the other guy's name wrong, but Stevenson, he's one of their biggest prospects. He was, top 10 pick not too long ago.
First-round pick out of high school, flamethrower, 97 miles per hour.
Big guy.
He's been in the Reds farm system up and down in the major leagues for a few years. He's one of the crucial guys to take the step.
Just let him see as many pitches as possible, man.
Yeah.
Get him all the adjustments and playing time he needs to adjust to major league speed because it's a big difference going from the minors to the majors.
It is, yeah. So we'll see about the Reds. I still think they're a year or two away from being a playoff contender. I think maybe they'll take a little bit of a step forward this year.
St. Louis always makes that last 3-week push, where they win 14 of their last 18 games.
It also doesn't help playing in a division with two great teams. The Cubs are still
3 years ago, we had 3 teams with a 90 or more wins.
Yeah.
Right.
The Pirates were there, and they fell off. They're getting rid of all of their guys.
They're doing what the Reds should have done a few years ago and just completely wash the system out. Buy McCutchen, buy everybody.
Yeah. Josh Harrison.
We all know the Cubs are going to be a World Series contender again. The Cardinals are always a solid team. So I think the Reds will at least finish 3rd or 4th, depending on who wants to fight me with the worst record with the Reds and the Pirates. But the Pirates are on the decline. The Reds are on the incline, hopefully, if these guys develop.
Right.
So,
how do you feel about Arrieta likely about to sign with the Phillies?
I don't care where he goes, honestly. He wanted a max contract, and we already signed Yu Darvish, which I'm sure he's not happy about. So he's going to leave. I mean, Philly has the money for him, and I know Chicago's a big market, but we need to sign more position players like backups.
I don't think that Philadelphia should sign him. I really don't. I think you started to see his shades of back in his days in Baltimore of great stuff, but he's really started to scuffle quite a bit.
Yeah, he really took a step back. He won the
He's not
Cy
an ace
Young.
anymore, yeah.
He had the great year, and he was absolutely dominant, but the year after, he took a big step back.
His stuff has never been the question mark.
No, it's his control.
Yeah, exactly.
He nitpicks around the edges. That's what whenever I watch him pitch, when he pitched against the Reds and threw that no-hitter, I was at that game, by the way. When he threw that no-hitter against the Reds, everything was on the black. Those are the days where, when you nitpick and you nitpick well, you're going to throw the greatest game of your life. But when you do it and you don't do well, which is 75% of the time, just living around the black and you're missing.
You're not getting the calls.
Yeah, it's a measure of inches. It's a game of inches. When you're not getting those calls, you're going to look bad.
And it's going to rattle you mentally.
Like a weak pitcher. Then when you throw a strike, it's right down the middle. Balls start flying out of the park. That's what's the problem.
Yeah,
these are big league hitters. They've got that good identification of what's in the zone, what's not, what's a place where I can hit it, what's not, what's a pitcher's pitch, and what's something I can handle.
So now it goes from Jake Arrieta and John Lester to Yu Darvish and John Lester.
I'm fine with that.
The 1-2
honestly.
punch.
And then how old was John Lackey? What, 48?
And plus with the Cubs, they got their position guys. Their contracts are coming up. Anthony Rizzo, if I'm not mistaken, Chris Bryant.
We're gonna re-sign the MVP. No doubt.
And we know Chris Bryant is going to get a big contract. I mean,
he's the future. Him and Bryce Harper are the future.
For all intents and purposes, I would take Chris Bryant over Giancarlo Stanton, and look how much Giancarlo Stanton is getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Bryant is going to get. Him and Bryce Harper are going to get contracts that are close to $500 million.
Leo's got a grimace on his face.
That's a loaded question. So,
who would you rather start a team with, Giancarlo Stanton or Chris Bryant?
I would build my team around Chris Bryant.
Okay, now here's my question mark.
I love Giancarlo, but I would take Chris Bryant to start my team.
Just to begin a team, like a franchise.
No,
like
this is an important question.
Okay, so say you're like a 500 team on the come up. You have good prospects. You have good bullpen, good pitchers.
What franchise? That's what I'm asking.
What does that matter? Like
it does matter. Think about the ballparks that you're playing in.
Yankees.
The Yankees. Okay, I'm taking Stanton.
Okay, because the long ball. Say you're playing in San Francisco.
What's that?
San Francisco, the Giants.
Oh, San Francisco, I'm taking Bryant.
Okay, so it really just depends on the team.
Oh, it does. It does entirely. I think that's a question that people don't ask enough.
We've also seen Chris Bryant on the biggest stage in the World Series play amazing.
And we've also seen him not play well.
And we've also seen him win an MVP. Giancarlo Stanton also, I think, just won the MVP.
Yeah.
But
over Joey Votto, which was a snub. I will say that to the day I die.
Overall, as a better player, I think Chris Bryant's a better player. Not by
You're
much.
not a baseball purist. You're giving me a grimace again. Votto should have won from a baseball purist standpoint. A traditional fan.
I disagree. Look at it this way. Votto had Stanton by about 10 or 15 batting average points. Stanton had Votto by about 15 or 20 homers.
Okay,
Stanton had Votto by about 25.
But also, you gotta look at like
Chicks
walks
dig
on
long
base
balls.
percentage.
He got the woman's vote.
Okay, Stanton hit 15 to 20 more. All right, I'm down with that.
Votto had what, 35 bombs?
Stanton's the ballpark he played in. How did he hit that many homers?
Marcelo Ozuna hit almost as many as he did.
Exactly. Marcelo Ozuna's a great player. That's why he was traded, and they got what they got for him.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. Best outfield in baseball is now just gone. Stanton, Ozuna, Yelich. None of them are there anymore.
Where did Yelich go?
I forget. Yelich is gone.
Yeah, I think he got traded. Well, I think it might have been to the Giants as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Him to the Giants, too?
I believe so.
God, he's a really good outfielder. Like, well, all around. He's an ugly dude, but, like, man, he can hit the ball.
Yeah, Bryce Harper, speaking of Bryce Harper in an interview, he said he's not discussing his incoming free agency after this year. He said he's focused on this year and nothing else.
Good, yes. Yeah, stay quiet.
Which is a smart, which is a good thing.
The Brewers are good this year.
Yeah,
the Brewers are good.
Yeah.
Wait, D. Gordon's gone too, isn't he?
Yeah, where'd he go? Why is everyone just jumping from team to team, man? Stay
after
loyal.
Jose Fernandez.
No, those guys were traded, if I'm not mistaken.
Trade. Derek Jeter's destroying that freaking organization.
He traded Giancarlo to the Yankees out of all teams, right?
Derek Jeter is such a good Yankee and so loyal to that organization. He took over another team and destroyed them in the honor of the Yankees.
Yeah, just to go give them a better team.
What if you had traded like literally each and every player to the Yankees in exchange
for cash?
For a bucket of balls? Like Stanton, Ozuna, Yelich, D. Gordon, and that's it for a bucket of balls.
But Derek, the league doesn't approve. Sign! I said sign!
It's kind of like in semi-pro, they traded their best player for a dishwasher, if you remember. Have you ever seen that?
I have not seen that one.
Oh, it's a good movie.
Yeah, we are transitioning into the baseball season now with NFL being done. NBA is winding down. We have about, 25 games left.
I can't wait for March Madness, dude.
We have March Madness coming up. Baseball season is coming up. NBA playoffs are coming up.
It's the most wonderful time of the year right now is.
A baseball purist would say that, it's the most wonderful time. But yes, we got baseball, we got basketball, we got a lot of things coming up in sports. We got soccer.
We're missing Chelsea and Barca right now. Can somebody update me on that score?
Yeah, Chelsea and Barcelona are playing in the UEFA Champions League right now. Last time we checked, it was 0-0. In about the 34th minute when I checked.
Yeah, Willian has hit like 18 crossbars. It's no big deal. That's all he does. He just aims for crossbars.
I personally thought this game was going to get ugly. I thought Barcelona was
Messi
going
has
to
not scored ever. This is like the one club he's never scored against, and I'm hoping he gets at least one.
And that's the reason why I thought Messi was going to take over this game, and I thought this was going to be a 4-1, 4-2
just
blowout.
leave it on his feet and have him go sideline to sideline and just like run past everybody. That's
what
he
it's looking like now, it was 0-0, and Barcelona actually wasn't able to pull away.
Is this game over yet?
It's 1-1.
1-1.
Who scored? Does it tell you? No. Thanks for the update, Ryan.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Also,
Producer Ryan, Tony Clutch.
Do we all remember how there was 3 Ohio teams in the top 10 in college basketball? That didn't last too long. That didn't last too long. UC lost their senior day. Ohio State got beat.
Only the good die young, dude. We suck.
Xavier's the only team left in the top 10. We all know they will be tournament team.
They had a good loss to Villanova.
Yeah.
They made it a 3-point game, and Villanova did not miss a shot from 3 the first half. So it was kind of
all 3 teams lost. But on the bright side, we all know they still will make the tournament. So there's nothing.
Yeah, they're all
going to
be like
yet.
3, 4, 5, maybe a 2 seed for one of them.
But yeah, it was a rough top 10 week for Ohio teams.
I think X could still be a 1 seed.
That could be a 1 seed if they win the Big East tournament. Yeah,
which means they have to beat Nova
again.
likely.
Yeah,
but maybe somebody else takes Nova out.
Another underdog like St. John's beating 2 top 10 teams in the same week.
Who knows?
But yeah, like Afros guys, we'll be discussing more March Madness coming up here shortly.
Yeah. One last point. We want to hit the Golden Knights.
Oh yeah.
Go Vegas.
The Las Vegas Golden Knights.
The only expansion team to ever be in first place of anything ever.
Exactly. They're an expansion team. The way expansion teams are put together in pretty much all sports.
They start like hot garbage.
Exactly. All the other teams in the league, they say, hey, we don't want these players, so you can have them. And that's how you build your team as an expansion team.
With a bunch of
expendables.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the island of misfit toys have come together, and more than 3/4 of the way through the season, they are the number 1 team in not just their division, not just their conference, but the entire National Hockey League. It's incredible. It really is.
Are they fun to play with in the Chell?
Oh, yeah, they are. Oh, yeah. The real deal, James Neal, Barry and Biscuits, Jonathan Audi Marcheso.
I don't know these names.
Marc-Andre Fleury.
Marc-Andre Fleury, that's right. Oh,
Way
man,
too
who could
nice.
forget about the flower?
They could just be throwing out names right now, and
I know. I just know the one guy from ESPN. What's his face?
Barry Melrose.
Yeah, that's my dude.
Barry
Slick
Melrose.
back,
Oh,
pepper
man,
hair.
the lettuce is so real
God.
on that man. Anything else on the agenda? We good?
Yeah, let's wrap it up. That's pretty good. That was pretty fun.
I say we wrap it up, guys.
I like it.
A lot
Lots
of
good
content
talk
discussed
today.
today. A lot of sports.
Amateur Hour was quite amateur-like, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's what we're here for. Your ear candy, your Amateur Hour ear candy. Keep it locked. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.
Bye.
Take it easy, guys.